Welcome to everyone this Monday morning, April 20th, 2020, during the middle of the coronavirus lockdown. We're going through the first canto, and we switched today from the first chapter of the first canto into the second chapter of the first canto, and we're going to do verse number 2, just as soon as we give acknowledgement to our line of disciplic succession. Om Aganati Mirandasya Ganangana Salaka Chaksuran Militam Yena Tajmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Sayam Rupakaram Mayam Darati Sa Parantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Ganatam Vitam Stam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvashesa Sunyavadi Praskita Desatani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. Thanks for joining us, Mala, Joe, Terry. I'll wave this way. Anjali, Michelle, and I know that Govinda Dev also had joined before. So this is the first canto, second chapter, second verse. Yam pravajantam anupetam apecha kritam dvapayano viraha katara ajuhava putretiyan mayataya taravo Vinedas tam sarvabhuta hridayam munim anatoshmi. The translation, this is Sutta Goswami speaking, having just come from the assembly of sages who did a vigil during the last 7 days of Maharaj Parikshit's life, and during that time heard continuously katha from Sukadeva Goswami, who is Sutta Goswami's spiritual master, who says, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, Sukadeva Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher caste, his father Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, 'O my son, indeed only the trees which are absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in response to the bereaved father.' Sukadeva Goswami was the son of Vyasadeva, who compiled all the Vedic literatures, the mature fruit of which is the Srimad Bhagavatam, which we're going through verse by verse here. Obviously, his birth was not an ordinary birth. And the Bhagavad Gita says, Prapya punya kritam lokam ushidva sasvata suchinam srimatam gehe yoga brashta bijayate. Only a great exalted yogi from a previous life could have possibly taken birth in such an auspicious circumstance. Suchinam srimatam gehe says the fallen yogi from a previous life takes his current birth either in a very aristocratic or very wealthy family. So in terms of spiritual aristocracy, doesn't get any better than Vyasadeva. Kim va parya ishvara mahamune kim para vashara. Vyasadeva is the literary incarnation of God. And Sukadeva Goswami is his son. And yet, having entered into the womb of his mother, from his previous life, he had gotten the impersonal realization. He had realized the oneness of the jiva, or the atma, and the parama. He had realized the oneness in quality between God and the living being. God is spirit, we're spirit. And so, seeing that everything was one, he saw no reason to exit the womb. The problem with that level of spiritualization, if you stay there, you don't see any use to this material world. You just discount it. You just negate it. You pretend it's not there. And so Sukadeva Goswami, seeing everything one, inside the womb, outside the womb, material body, spiritual self, he saw it all as one, and so he didn't come out. He didn't take birth, and he stayed within the womb 12 or 16 years, something like that. Then he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father, Vyasadeva. And after hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the qualities, the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Spirit, he realized that his knowledge had been incomplete. He had known only about the qualitative oneness between the individual spirit and the Supreme Spirit. But after hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, he learned that there is a quantitative difference. And at that point, the purpose of this phenomenal world becomes clear. Even though it's temporary, it is God's energies and is meant to be used in his service. So Sukadeva Goswami realized that he had a body, which by now was mature, even within the womb of his mother, and that the highest level of knowledge was to use that body, even though it's temporary, the benefits that one can get are eternal. The service, the bhakti, the devotional service between the eternal jiva, infinitesimal soul, and the infinite soul, the service naturally between two eternals, the service is also eternal. So Sukadeva Goswami realized, after hearing the Bhagavatam, that there's a higher level, and that higher level means using your body to serve the Lord. So at that point, he exited the womb. But he had no attachment for father, mother, hearth, and home. He had no attachment. So he exited the womb, and then he just started walking to traverse the surface of the earth, going wherever the super soul dictated him to, trusting the Lord to bring him into those right circumstances where he could serve the Lord to the best of his ability. And his father was dumbfounded, even though his father is the greatest transcendentalist. He still couldn't believe that his son was so detached. He didn't even say, "Hi, Dad," or "Goodbye," or anything. "I'll send you a postcard." He just started walking away, wearing nothing. And the interesting thing was he looked like Krishna. He actually had the same complexion, Shama Sundaram Achinta Guna Sharupam. He had the Krishna color. He just started walking away. And so it's explained here that he underwent no upavitra, no sacred ceremony, no samskaras, no Vedic rituals. Generally speaking, in a traditional Vedic family, there are various purificatory rituals. There are 16. The first one is before birth, the Garbhadan Sanskara. There's a ritual at the time of conception. There's birth, there's hair cutting, there's education, first letters of the alphabet. There's name-giving ceremony. And then at about the age of Sukadeva Goswami, 12 to 16, there's the Yaga Povitra ceremony, where a priest comes and gives you the sacred thread ceremony, a sacred thread. And at that point, you're considered Dvija, second born. Every living being who takes birth from the material world gets their material body from their mother. Whether you're a snake or a reptile or a mammal or an aquatic, you generally get the elements of your material body from your mother, whether it's in the egg or in the womb, however the process of birth is for that particular species. So in this world, every living being has a father and a mother, generally speaking, from whom they receive their material body. However, Dvija, or second-born, are those who get their second birth from a bona fide spiritual master. And they get a spiritual umbilical cord. This is the Yaga Povit. This is the sacred thread, and it goes around you pretty much like an umbilical cord, and it indicates that you're second born. So there are 4 classes. Generally speaking, this is not really the caste system. It's a natural division of people according to inclination and training and aptitude. It only became calcified after the Muslims invaded India and provided such a traumatic, cataclysmic shock to the whole Vedic system that the caste system became rigidified. People became walled in. That if you were born the son of a low-class person, you could never rise to the higher caste. But that's not the original spirit of the system. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Chaturvarnam mayasishtam guna karma vibhagasha. There are 4 general divisions of labor, and they are determined by guna and karma. That means aptitude and training. No, Janma is the word for birth, but Krishna doesn't say that you're a Brahmin by birth or a Sudra by birth or a Kshatriya by birth or anything by birth. It's all by aptitude and training. So according to the original system, which wasn't called the caste system, but rather the Varna Ashrama, one who was born of a low-class man could become a Brahmin, and if one was born as son of a Brahmin but didn't have the aptitude for study and scholarship and purity, then one would be classified amongst the workers and handymen. Sukadeva Goswami was born, son of the greatest Brahmin, but there was no birth ceremony, there was no haircutting ceremony, there was no name-giving ceremony. And yet it didn't matter, because the purpose of all these ceremonies is that to awaken bhakti, to awaken the eternal devotion of the living being for his supreme loving creator and father. Earlier in this Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Sutta Goswami says, Ata pumbara dvijasastash varnashama vibhaga sanistitasya samsiddhya haritoshanam. Samsiddhya haritoshanam means the highest perfectional stage of the living being. So it says that the whole purpose of having Sudras, workers, Vaishyas, mercantilers, Kshatriyas, administrators and warriors, and Brahmins, teachers and priests, the whole purpose of this gradation is that one become a Vaishnava, that one be devoted in eternal loving devotional service to the Supreme Spirit, Krishna. And one needn't take successive births up to the Brahmin level before one is eligible to be a Vaishnava. One can be a Vaishnava in any stage of life. And that supersedes Brahmanism. It is said that the whole purpose of the caste system is awakened devotion. So a worker can be a devotee, a businessman can be a devotee, an administrator, a warrior, a leader can be a devotee, as well as a Brahmin. Now, if a Brahmin is not a devotee, it says it's all a waste of time. You've missed the point. You know, your arrow has missed the mark. The whole point of this institution is to become a devotee. A practical example we can use to understand it is just like society is divided into the head part, the Brahmins, the arm part, the Kshatriyas or warriors, the belly part, the farmers and merchants, and then the legs part, the Sudras. Each and every part has to work for the satisfaction of the whole body, isn't it? The head thinks, where is food? And the legs take you. And then the hands pick the food. And then when the food goes into the stomach through the mouth, then the whole body is nourished. Now, each and every one of those four parts of our body has to work coordinatedly for the healthy functioning of the body. So similarly, the four parts of the social body, the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, have to work commonly to please the whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, the whole thing is a waste of time. It's just chaos. So Prabhupada writes here in the purport, the institution of Varna and Ashrama prescribes many regulative duties to be observed by its followers. Such duties enjoin that a candidate willing to study the Vedas must approach a bona fide spiritual master and request acceptance as his disciple. The sacred thread is a sign of those who are competent to study the Vedas from the bona fide spiritual master. Sri Sukadeva Goswami did not undergo such purificatory ceremonies because he was a liberated soul from his very birth. Generally, a man is born as an ordinary human being, and by the purificatory process, he is born for the second time. That's called Dvija, or second born. When he sees a new light and seeks direction for spiritual progress, he approaches a spiritual master for instruction in the Vedas. The spiritual master accepts only the sincere inquirer as a disciple and gives him the sacred thread. In this way, a man becomes twice born, or Dvija. After qualifying as a Dvija, one may study the Vedas, and after becoming well versed in the Vedas, one becomes a Vipra. A Vipra, a qualified Brahmin, thus realizes the absolute truth and makes further progress in spiritual life until he reaches the Vaishnava stage. The Vaishnava stage is the postgraduate status of a Brahmin. A progressive Brahmana must necessarily become a Vaishnava, For a Vaishnava is a self-realized learned Brahmin. One more paragraph here in Prabhupada's purport. Srila Sukadeva Goswami was a Vaishnava. Vaish means Vishnu, and Nava means follower. So Vishnu is another name for Krishna. Vaishnava is a follower or a servant of Krishna. Therefore, there was no need for Sukadeva Goswami to undergo all the processes of Varnashram institution. Ultimately, the aim of Varnashram is to turn a crude man into a pure devotee of the Lord. Anyone, therefore, who becomes a Vaishnava, accepted by the first-class Vaishnava, or Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava, is already considered a Brahmin, regardless of his past birth or deeds. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted this principle and recognized Srila Haridas Thakur as the Acharya of the holy name, although Thakur Haridas appeared in a Mohammedan family. In conclusion, Srila Sukadeva Goswami was born a Vaishnava, and therefore Brahmanism was included within him. He did not have to go any ceremonies. Any low-born person, be Kirata, Huna, Anda, Palinda, Pakasha, Abhya, Shamba, Yavana, Kasharaya, or even lower, can be delivered to the highest transcendental position by the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Srila Sukadeva Goswami was the spiritual master of Sutta Goswami, who therefore offers his respectful obeisances unto Srila Sukadeva Goswami before he begins his answers to the questions of the sages at Naimisharanya. So this principle is very nicely illustrated through the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling along down the east coast of India, and he came to the Godavari. It was actually a province ruled over just south of Orissa, and the governor there was a Sudra, a man from the laborer class, and he managed that province. His name was Ramananda Roy. Now, in those days, according to birth and hereditary considerations, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was born the son of a Brahmin, Jagat Mishra, would have never taken instruction from a Sudra. The Brahmins know the Vedas, and access to the voluminous Veda was not allowed or afforded to the Sudra class of men. And so it's to be assumed that Ramananda Roy wasn't a Chatur Vedi, that he couldn't recite all the 4 Vedas by heart, or even 3 Vedas or 2 Vedas or 1 Veda. But what he was a highly elevated Vaishnava. He was a Paramahamsa. Even though he wasn't born in the highest caste, and even though his occupation was not that of a priest or of a teacher or of an intellectual, he wasn't practicing Brahmanism, yet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the social revolutionary 4 centuries before Gandhi, recognized the exalted stature of Brahmananda Roy, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat as a disciple of Brahmananda Roy to hear about Krishna consciousness. In fact, when Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Roy a series of questions, the first one of which is, what is the highest principle of devotion? Ramananda Roy quoted Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, from the 10th canto, and he said, Gyane prayasham udapasya namante eva jivanti sanmakoti tam chatam. He said, just put aside all your learning for the moment, because Brahmins can be quite taken with themselves, taken with their learned natures. They're invited into people's homes, they're worshipped, they're respected, they dazzle everyone with mantra and tantra, chanting mantras and shrahas. They get funded very abundantly by the householders. And so it's easy for the Brahmin to kind of start going around thinking he's the cat's meow. So in answer to the question of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what's the highest occupation, what's the highest level of work, Ramananda Roy did not say to spout mantra, tantra, Vedas as a Brahmin. He did not say Brahmanism, which was scandalous answer from the point of view of all the caste Brahmins who ruled India with an iron hand at that time. Rather, he said, the first thing you have to do in order to elevate to the highest state of human endeavor is forget about all your knowledge. Put aside all of your self-absorption and just surrender to the process of sthati stita shuti ganem tanuvanamahir, hearing about the incredible activities, nature, name, form, and paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you don't do that, if you can't muster up the humility to do that, then what is the use of your Brahmanism? As I said, Lord Chaitanya was he was from a high Brahmin caste, but he was more than willing. He was eager to sit and ask questions of Brahmananda Roy and receive the answers. And the principle is enunciated by Lord Chaitanya himself in the Madhya Lila. He says, Kiba Vipra, the Vipra is one who's conversed in the Vedas. It says, Kiba, even if you're a Vipra, Kiba Nihasi, very, very learned scholar and grammarian, Sudra Kene Naya, say Krishna Tadvaveti, say Guru Haya. It says if you're a learned Brahmin and a scholar, but you're not a Krishna devotee, then you should be accepted as a Sudra, a low-class man. On the other hand, someone who's born in a family of Sudras, if he knows the science of Krishna, he may not be able to do pujas or sanskaras or rituals or dazzle anybody with all kinds of mantras. But if he can deliver Krishna bhakti, if he can explain the science of Krishna, then he should be accepted as a guru. Another example in this connection was that of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was a great Vaishnava. He was the guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was revealed to Madhavendra Puri in a dream where a Krishna deity had been buried in the jungle about 500 years before. Around 1000 AD, the Muslims went through the Vrindavan area, the sacred area where Krishna had performed his pastimes. They broke down the biggest temple there, the Govindaji temple. They took it from 7 stories down to 3 stories. They smashed deities. They did whatever they could to ground the Hindus and their culture and their religion underfoot as part of their strategy of conquest. And so whenever they would hear that the Muslims were coming out to them from Delhi, they would take the deities and hide them in the jungle. So this particular Gopal deity had been hidden in the jungle 500 years before, and then maybe the priests were killed by the Muslims, nobody knows, but his whereabouts had been forgotten. So he appeared before Madhavendra Puri in a dream and told Madhavendra Puri exactly where to find him, remove the rubble and the overgrowth, and excavate him. And so now it was up to Madhavendra Puri, having discovered this wonderful deity, to establish the worship for him. And so he built a temple for him on a hill. And then before the worship started, he instructed the local Brahmins in Vaishnavism. And those who are the most astute and the most willing to step up to the level of pure devotional service, those he designated as Vaishnavas. He wouldn't let just castes, Brahmins by birth, worship the Gopal deity, but he had to have them graduate up to Vaishnavism before they could worship the deity. And it's also interesting, too, that when Madhavendra Puri was traveling, at another time, the deity appeared before him in a dream and told him to get some sandalwood for the worship. And the sandalwood was in the Malayan hills, which were many hundreds of miles to the east. Madhavendra set out. And while he was in the eastern part of India, in the province of Orissa, he heard about this incredible kheer that was offered to the Lord Krishna there, the local Krishna deity, every evening. And he wanted to taste the kheer. However, the arti had been done, the kheer for the evening had been distributed, and so he arrived too late. He was told that there's no cheer available for you. And so figuring that he'd arrived too late, Madhavendra Puri just went to under a tree somewhere near the marketplace and took rest for the night. Now, in the meantime, the priest, the Brahmin priest who worshipped the Gopal deity, the deity appeared before him in a dream and said, a great devotee of mine is in town. He told him where he was sleeping. He said, take him a pot of sweet rice. The Brahmin said, there are 12 pots offered to you every night, and we distributed all of them. And the deity, the Krishna deity, said, no, I knew he was coming, so I stole one of those pots and hid it behind the deity door. And the priest couldn't figure this out, because as far as he'd calculated, he had distributed 12 pots. So whether he miscounted or whether the deity, by his mystic power, manifested another pot and called it as the 12, he didn't know. But sure enough, when he went there and he looked behind the door, he saw a pot of sweet rice. He took that to Madhavendra Puri. Now this Brahmin bowed down. Madhavendra Puri was just out there sleeping under a tree in the marketplace. And without inquiring as to his birth or his lineage or anything about him, this Brahmin priest knew that Madhavendra Puri was a devotee of the highest caliber. And so without inquiring what the birth or the background, this Brahmin priest, and Brahmins normally, they don't offer obeisances to anyone, not even other Brahmins. But this Brahmin lay out flat and offered his dandavats to Madhavendra Puri because he recognized him as a Vaishnava. Prabhupada says here, if he is conversant in the science of Krishna, he can become a spiritual master as Varta, Pradarshika Guru, Diksha Guru, or Shiksha Guru. Now he says, now there's three types of guru. There's the guru who shows the way, there's the guru who instructs, and then there's the guru who gives formal initiation. So that's called Diksha, the instructive guru Shiksha, and the one who shows the way is Pravarta, Pravarta Darshika Guru. So the hereditary of the caste Brahmins would acknowledge that someone born in a lower caste could be an instructor guru, and they could be a guru who shows the path, but they would prohibit anyone born in a lower caste from being the Diksha or the initiating guru. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that if one is a Vaishnava, it doesn't matter from what part of the world they've taken birth, it doesn't matter from what family they've taken birth. If they are a Vaishnava, they can do all three. And this was unprecedented. This was revolutionary. In fact, when Bhaktisiddhanta, several hundred years later in Vrindavan, was preaching along these lines, there was a plot from amongst the caste-cautious Brahmins to administer him poison and to kill him. That was foiled, fortunately. But this was against centuries and centuries of rigidity on the part of the hereditary Brahmins. But it's interesting because this, you might say, clarification, some might say innovation, but really it was established principle since time immemorial. So we might say this clarification of Lord Chaitanya is what opened the door for Krishna consciousness to spread all over the world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself had said, Pritiviteya chejito sagara nidgram sarvacha poive moinam. 500 years ago, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great apostle of chanting the Maha Mantra, predicted, Pritivite achejito nagar adi gram. Gram means every little crossroads, every little place where there's a well and two huts and a dog. He said the chanting of Hare Krishna will resound all over the world, the cities, the towns, and even the grams. And here we are in Spanish Fork, Utah, as living proof of the truth, the veracity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction. However, That could not have happened if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not clarified that even if you're born in a lower family, even if you're born outside of India, even if you're not born as any part of the caste system, if you know the science of Krishna, you can not only be a Pravarta Didarsha Guru who shows the way, not only an instruction guru, but you can also be a Diksha Guru. You can also be an initiating guru. And it's because of that clarification that the Krishna consciousness movement, that Vaishnavism, is now universally spread all over the world. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered everybody who was born in Bharat Bhumi, and I notice I've got Brajapati here also taking part in this call. Brajapati pointed out to me last week through a comment that Bharat Bhumi does not just refer to India, what we know as present-day India, but Bharat Bhumi actually refers to all the lands and all the continents on this Bhumi Loka planet. And so when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu orders everybody who took birth in Bharat Bhumi to spread the science of Krishna consciousness, he's not just referring to those who took birth within the borders of India as it's demarked in 2020. He's actually saying that every inhabitant, every resident, anyone who took birth anywhere on the planet has the duty to enlighten their family, their friends, and their countrymen with the science of Krishna consciousness. And these are the actual words of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the Madhya Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Instruct everyone to follow the orders of Sri Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. And that's the order. That's the mandate. Everyone should try to gravitate up to the highest level of bhakti and be a light in their generation. Make a difference in their time here. Satkarma nipuno vipro mancha tanta visaradaha avaishnava guru syad Vaishnava shapachi guru. This says Satkarma nipuno vipro. No matter how erudite one is, no matter how much prowess one has in streaming mantras and tantras and Vedas, it says Avaishnava guru nasyat. If one doesn't have that element of devotion, of submission, the mood of service, because so many Brahmins, you can see, they're not in a mood of service at all. The rest of us are put here to serve them, to facilitate them, to worship them. You can see that very, very plainly amongst many caste-conscious Brahmins. They do not have the mood of service. And here it's explained that such a one, no matter how learned they are, no matter how high born they are, no matter how erudite they are, a Vaishnava, if they are not a follower of Vishnu, if they don't have devotee in their heart, they are not qualified from being a spiritual master. They themselves don't have the vision, so being blind, they cannot lead other blind men in the right direction. On the other hand, the last line of this verse says, Vaishnava Shopacho Guru. 3 words, and in this consists in the entire revolution of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whereby Krishna consciousness spread all over the world. Vaishnava Shopacho Guru. Shopacho means even if he's born in a family of dog eaters, if he's a Vaishnava, he can become a guru. A classic example of 2 personalities who took birth in a race of demons. We have the term sura, which means all godly qualities. And then in Sanskrit, when you put an A, it negates. So there are suras, the godlies or the demigods. And then there are asuras, or the miscreants, the demons, if you will. So 2 out of our 12 Mahajans, Mahajana Yena Gata Sapanta, it is said the path of religion is ascertained by following in the footsteps of these 12 great Vaishnavas, these 12 great devotees of Vishnu. Who are they? Swayambhu Narada Shambhu, Kumara Kapala Manu, Pralada Janako Bhishmo, Balir Vyasaki Vayam. So the 12 Mahajans who enunciate and elucidate the principles of religion by their behavior and by their personas are Swayambhu Narada Shambhu, Kumara Kapila Manu. So Swayambhu, self-born, not born from any womb. That's Lord Brahma. And we, in fact, are in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. The Krishna conscious devotees, followers of Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our ultimate guru is Lord Brahma, who received devotion from Krishna according to the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Narada. So many of our quotes are from Narada Muni, especially in this first canto. The first canto, along with Sudha Goswami, is spoken by Narada Muni. And then Shambhu, Lord Shiva, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. Lord Shiva is amongst the 12 greatest Vaishnavas of all time. Komara, the 4 Kumaras. Kapila Dev, who spoke to his mother, Devahuti. Manu, the forefather of mankind. And then here is one of the 2 that I mentioned who was as low-born as you could possibly get, born in a race of demons, and he particularly was born as the son of the greatest demon, the greatest criminal, perhaps in the history of the world. He was the son of Hiranyakashipu, and his name was Prahlad Maharaj. He is one of the 12 Mahajans. Then Janaka, the father of Sita, Bhishma Dev from Mahabharata, then Vyasakir, Sukadeva Goswami, and then Bali. Bali is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. So both of them born in a demoniac race, and yet they are counted amongst the 12 greatest Vaishnavas, the greatest luminaries in the sky, which guide our way back to home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada says here, of the caste system, of the 4 orders, the Brahmin, the head, the Kshatriya, the arms, the Vaishya, the belly, and the Sudra, the legs. Prabhupada says, each and every part of the social body is important, although the mouth is the most important of the bodily parts. So that's the Brahmin. The Brahmin is supposed to glorify, speak the glories of the Lord, and then on behalf of the Lord, eat the remnants of sacrifice, the prasadam, which is offered to the Lord. So the Brahmin is considered the head in general, but specifically the mouth, because he speaks for the Lord and he takes the prasadam which is offered to the Lord. So Prabhupada says the mouth is the most important because it's through the mouth that the rest of the body is nourished. So if other parts are cut off from the body, a man can continue his life. If you lose an arm, if you lose a leg, you can continue your life. But if the mouth is cut off, one cannot live. And this says that it's absolutely essential that we not just have Brahmins, but that the Brahmins be Vaishnavas. If their energy and their intellect is not directed to pleasing the Lord, then they're not feeding the stomach. They're out for themselves. Shruti smriti paranadi panchariti aikantiki harabhakti utpatayaiva kalpate. A Brahmin who is self-interested, self-centered, is simply a disturbance in society. He's not rendering a valuable contribution to society, just the opposite. There was a tape of Prabhupada giving a lecture in Sweden. From what I've heard, Uppsala University is the Harvard of Sweden. It's the elite school. Prabhupada gave this lecture, quite detailed, the duties of the Brahmin, first-class man, the duties of the Kshatriya, the word second-class man, the duties of the Vaishya, the mercantiler, third-class man, the duties of the Sudra, the craftsman and handyman and serviceman, fourth-class man. We went through all this. And then during the question period, one student, it was a tape, so I could hear the sort of insolence implied in his voice. He asked, so what class are you, Swamiji? And you could tell that the inquirer there fully expected Prabhupada to puff himself up, throw his head back and square his shoulders and say, "We are Brahmins." Prabhupada didn't do that. Prabhupada, instead of saying, "We are first-class men," Prabhupada stunned everybody in the hall by saying, "We are fifth-class men." We're not first, second, third, fourth. We are fifth-class men. Because the Brahmin is the one who serves all the other four classes of men. He makes sure that everybody in the course of performing their duties does it with the purpose of life in mind, which is ultimately to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without that center to our lives, without that purpose, our lives have no meaning, our society cannot be functional. Every part of the body has to have the ultimate purpose to feed the stomach through the mouth. So it's only the Vaishnava who makes the greatest contribution to society. Prabhupada says, you can lose any other limb of the body and continue, but you cannot lose the mouth. And Prabhupada came to America. People said, "What have you come to offer, Swamiji? We have churches, we have religions, we have denominations." Prabhupada said, "I have come to offer what you have forgotten. You have forgotten how to feed the stomach. You've forgotten how to love and to serve God. With all of your religiosity and churchianity, you've forgotten the point, which is to serve God as the whole. And when the whole is served, all the parts become nourished." So I have more, but I could talk for another hour. It's an extremely inspiring subject matter, but maybe some of these points and some of these stories and some of these examples we can reserve for another day. I'm sure you all need to get about your various duties here, and I respect that, and I appreciate Michael and Mr. Willie Donnell and Daniel being with us at the current moment, and then there have been others. I'll wave to you. We'll finish off here with some final comments by Srila Prabhupada. Human society cannot be happy without Krishna consciousness. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and we are his servants. The master is enjoying, and the servants are helping the master enjoy. We living entities are eternal servants of God, and our duty is to help our master enjoy. Srimati Radharani is the topmost servant of Krishna, and her business is always to keep Krishna pleased. Krishna is very fond of Radharani because she renders the best service. We are part and parcel of Krishna, just as the hand is part and parcel of the body. Similarly, our senses are also part and parcel of the spiritual body of Krishna. When we purify our senses, we can act in our original constitutional position and serve Krishna. This life is a preparation for the next, and if we want to enjoy our transcendental senses, we have to purify ourselves, return back home, back to God. I've enjoyed this immensely, as I do every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and I will greatly anticipate and look forward to spending time with you again 24 hours from now, 7:30, Tuesday, April 21st, during the epic Corona lockdown. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.